We are Sydney, the famous Sydney FC. The famous Sydney FC have suffered one of the worst A-League seasons in their history, failing to make finals and finishing 8th. It really is one of the most remarkable stories to come out of this season in the A-League men's competition. And no one really saw it coming. I mean, there were some predictions early season that they would drop away from their perch at the top two, where they've been finishing consistently for the last few years. But no one really expected them to fall as far as they did, I'd say. I mean, yes, they do have an aging squad, and people were bringing that up as, you know, that aging squad has been gradually getting older and older. But again, it's just been a disaster by Sydney FC standards. I mean, that's the thing. If it was any other club, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. But seeing this Sydney FC side, who has been so successful recently, drop so quickly and so far, it is really pretty concerning if you are a Sky Blues fan. The first thing I want to talk about is the injury to Luke Bratton. I don't know if I want to go as far as saying that cost Sydney FC this season, but I think it played a massive part to why Sydney FC really struggled to get going this campaign. Luke Bratton is such a key part to that Sydney FC midfield. Had a fantastic year last season, and arguably one of the best sort of holding midfielders in the league. The way he operates as a deep lying playmaker, he's just absolutely fantastic. And look, Sydney FC, Patrick Yazbek looked decent. Redshire had to sort of fill that Bratton role at times as well. Even Anthony Caceres dropping in as a 6 as well. But I think Sydney FC really struggled to replace that quality of Luke Bratton. Luke Bratton has qualities that not every footballer has, and that was a problem for Sydney FC early on. It's interesting watching, you know, the season play out for Sydney FC. I remember those first few rounds, they were struggling to score goals, they were struggling to win games, get points, and then after that, I think it was like after a month or so, they finally got some points on the board, and you thought, okay, maybe that was just like an early season sort of, just like a false start for Sydney FC. But then the same pattern kept happening, and kept happening, and kept happening. And it really started to get concerning, halfway through this season, they still hadn't really caught up to the teams at the top of the ladder. And there was growing concern as the season went on, and they were failing to win enough games, to score enough goals, and losing games where in past years we would have seen Sydney FC win these games. When you look at the other injuries that they sustained, of course, we have to bring up Costa Barbarouses, Adam Lafondra. Those are the two big ones for me that, again, maybe cost Sydney FC a little bit. Both of those players did come back for the second half of the season, but didn't quite have the same impact. I know Adam Lafondra scored a hat-trick against my Mariners, but they didn't have the same threat that they used to have, Barbarouses and Lafondra. Elvis Kamsoba stepped up big time, especially for the first half of the season. He was looking really, really good. Again, injury stunted his season, and that was the problem for Sydney FC. They were chopping and changing their side every week. And, Max Burgess was coming in. Patrick Wood played a couple games. Trent Bahagia had a good stint here and there. I mean, Bobo was scoring off the bench. But you got the sense that I don't know what Sydney FC's strongest starting side was. I mean, you can really define, if you think of Melbourne Victory, Western United, Melbourne City, like the teams who were finished at the top, you can really define sort of what is their strongest starting 11. With Sydney FC, it was like Steve Corica was like chopping and changing players and changing positions as well. With that formation they played, the 4-2-2-2. Whether they play players as sort of the 2 6s or the 2 10s or the 2 strikers, it's like players were getting rotated around the place. And again, I think that's really concerning if you're already halfway through a campaign and you're still searching for that. And now the question has been raised in terms of, is Corica the right man to lead Sydney FC forward? And look, I want to say, I think Steve Corica is a great coach. I mean, he's won championships with Sydney FC. There's no doubting that he doesn't have the quality he doesn't have the qualities of a good coach. But at the same time, Sydney FC this season have failed to adapt when they've struggled. They have a coach who refuses to change formation, refuses to change system. We've seen, honestly, I think this season, we've seen probably more than half the teams shift formation at times this season, whether it's going to a back 3, a back 4, changing it up, it's some teams playing a diamond midfield. Sydney FC have pretty much been playing the same formation for 4 or 5 years now. It's really been that set formation. And Steve Corica, despite the games where they were losing and clearly not performing at their best, individual players not performing at the best, Corica refused to change the system. And look, credit to him for sticking to what has worked in the past, but I mean, if you're finishing 8th, something has to be changed, right? Something's gone wrong there. And I mean, that's just a couple things that I've thrown out there. Whether it is formation, like I'm not saying that it is that, but you just have to look at that and think maybe that's getting stale now. Maybe teams have figured out the way that Sydney FC have played, and that's why so many teams were able to defeat the Sky Blues this year, potentially. Look, in my opinion, I don't think Steve Corica should stick around next season. I think, for a team to fall that far. And as well, you have to look at their squad. Their squad wasn't all that different from last season. The real only major change was losing Ryan McGowan, James Donaghy coming in. There weren't really any major changes to the squad. They saw the class of Milos Ninkovic, the leadership of Alex Wilkinson at the back, Socceroos goalkeeper Andrew Redmayne. But it's something's clearly going wrong at Sydney FC now. And I'm really interested, as I'm sure many fans across the A-League are, to see what Sydney FC do. Do they, completely rebuild the squad? Who sticks around for next season? I know they've got a whole bunch of players off contract. It's going to be really fascinating to see which person will stick around. And again, just the coach. Is Steve Corica going to stick around? And that's the question for you guys to round out this video. Do you think Steve Corica should be Sydney FC coach next season? Let me know down in the comments section. Very interested to hear what the majority of you guys think. If you want to see your team's season review, head to the channel. I might have already done your club already, but if not, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss your team's season review. And if you have enjoyed, make sure you hit the like button. It helps me out a whole lot. My name's Lockie. This is Coastwood Football, and I'll see you in the next one.